There could be a recession by this year, spring 2022, according to Elon Musk. Not many investors have predicted a recession, but Elon Musk is the first to put an end date on the slowdown. In this video, Elon explains why he thinks a recession is coming and what investors should do to be ready. Welcome to Empire Investing, where we'll be sharing the latest in stock market news, technology, and innovative investment strategies for aspiring millionaires and billionaires. If this is your first time watching our channel, welcome, and please do consider subscribing to see more videos just like this. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. When it comes to dealing with a financial crisis, Elon Musk knows all too well what it's like to go through one. In February of 1999, Elon and his brother Zip2 sold their first company for more than $300 million. Right before the dot-com boom burst on March 14, 2000. As CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, both of which almost went bankrupt in 2008, Elon saw the 2008 recession firsthand. Within a few months, Elon expects to see a repeat of what happened in the past. Today, there are over $900 billion startups in the world, a Wall Street Journal technology reporter tweeted. Do you have any idea how this graph will look in, say, 5 years? There is a graphic attached to the tweet that shows us all the unicorns, which are private enterprises with a value of more than $1 billion. There are dozens or hundreds of enterprises on this list of unicorns from a wide range of industries. The 150 unicorns that existed in September of this year pale in comparison. Although the tweet was already deleted, Elon Musk replied, "If history is any guide, not many will make it past the next recession." The writer replied to Elon and asked when the next recession would be, to which Elon replied, "Predicting macroeconomics is challenging, to say the least. My gut feel is maybe around spring or summer of 2022, but not later than 2023. Consumer prices are rising at an overwhelmingly fast rate, and the main reason for it is the government's excessive spending, which helped the U.S. get out of the 2020 recession due to the pandemic by printing more money." A lot of people are curious as to why Elon has a gut feeling of the upcoming recession. One of them is Dave Lee, the host of the YouTube channel Dave Lee on Investing. He replied to Elon's tweet and asked, "Really hard to predict timing of next recession. Curious what makes you think a recession is imminent?" Another user replied by showing the graph of how much the working age population has to pay in taxes to keep the federal budget funded without increasing the deficit. The graph shows how much it has spiked compared to the slight increase in 2008 to 2020, to which Elon replied, "This chart is a big deal. To lower the government budget, the Federal Reserve has a plan to raise the interest rates to 0.9% this year and lessen the purchase of bonds. Although 0.9% may seem small, it's a considerable amount compared to the average interest rate over the past few years. If you look at this graph called the Federal Funds Effective Rate, you can see that the Federal Reserve tried to raise the interest rates to 2.4% back in 2019. However, the market reacted negatively towards the Federal Reserve's attempt and it went down to 1.5%, and then after the pandemic, back to almost 0%. The financial market has always relied on 0% interest rates. However, it seems that the 0.9% increase is inevitable, despite the negative impact towards the market. The medium for the appropriate level of the federal funds rate is 0.9% at the end of 2022, about half a percentage point higher than projected in September. Participants expect a gradual pace of policy firming with a level of the federal funds rate generally near estimates of its longer run level by the end of 2024. That's by Jerome Powell. Another thing is that the Federal Reserve is estimating that they won't be buying any bonds at all by the middle of March. At today's meeting, the committee also decided to double the pace of reductions in its asset purchases. Beginning in mid-January, we will reduce the monthly pace of our net asset purchase by $20 billion for Treasury securities and $10 billion for agency mortgage-backed securities. If the economy evolves broadly as expected, similar reductions in the pace of net asset purchases will likely be appropriate each month, implying that increases in our securities holdings would cease by mid-March, a few months sooner than we anticipated in early November. That's by Jerome Powell. At first, it may look like a good thing to counter inflation, but the Federal Reserve's plan might only be scratching the surface because it will affect the economy negatively. The economy today has recovered from the pandemic, but that's all due to the government spending, which, as we've talked about earlier, is about to stop, which confirms Elon's prediction of the next recession. However, we might not just have a recession in the next coming years. A recession actually isn't that uncommon, because recession is when negative GDP growth happens in 2 consecutive quarters. So if the GDP declines by 0.2% for 2 quarters, it's still considered a recession. However, if GDP declines by 10% in 1 year, that's when depression happened. The best example of this was the Great Depression, to which the GDP dropped by 30%. This drop was preceded by the Roaring Twenties, which is the surge of the economy created by mass consumerism in the 1920s. Just like every financial crisis, a positive rise of the economy always happens before it, and it seems like history might repeat itself yet again. Elon tweeted, "Let's make the Roaring Twenties happen." Elon's statement confirms that this bubble might burst anytime soon in the 21st century. There are also growing retail inventories that could cause the next recession. ARK Invest's CEO and founder Cathie Wood, who Elon Musk has shown great respect for, predicts that the slow growth of the economy is because inventories are being oversupplied. As supply chains are not meeting the consumer demands, retail inventories are significantly down. To counter this, businesses are ordering huge amounts of inventory to meet consumer demands, and these orders, as Cathie believes, will lead to untouched amounts of inventory not being sold. Cathie tweeted, "Today, we learned that in November, retail inventories rose more than 2%, the fastest pace since the 90s, while imports jumped 4.7% and exports dropped 2%. Moreover, real consumption, including services, was flat, and the saving rate dropped to 6.9%, below pre-COVID levels." Cathie was only talking about the monthly increase. If we look at it annually, the increase would actually be at 24%. This increase, as Cathie talked about in the Twitter thread, led to the US's 2021 third quarter growth, as all because of inventory growth. As businesses increase their inventories, consumer demand will go down, and if they couldn't sell the inventories they bought, they'd eventually have to lower the prices to get rid of all of it in the next 3 to 6 months, which is in the same time frame as Elon's prediction. Because of this, many investors are looking for ways to hedge their portfolios away from a recession. One of them is Ray Dalio. Dalio believes that Chinese stocks will help in investors' portfolios and yield huge returns. Although a lot of people question his predictions, Chamath Palihapitiya, the founder of Social Capital, purchased Microsoft and Google and shorted Meta, Netflix, Apple, and Amazon. There's also Cathie Wood, who shorted on traditional companies like GM. That's all for today. Do you think Elon's prediction would be true this year, 2022? Join the discussion in the comments below, and if you like the video, please do click the like and subscribe button. We'll see you guys in the next video.